Hi, welcome back to Nerd Note Podcast number 12. My name's Lauren. I'm your host today, and we have Connor Quinn with us.
Hello.
Matt Enderly, and then our special guest, Mike Hollis. Mike is a systems engineer on the cybersecurity team here at MaxTech, also known as Lock24. And today we're going to be talking about hacker implants. Be on the lookout. All right, so in recent news, there has been a data breach in LastPass, which is really big news on the IT side of things. So I want to start off by asking you guys, what is LastPass? What does it do? And what's going on in the news?
Yeah, so this is kind of evolving news too, right? So LastPass is a password manager. The world where we have hundreds of passwords to attempt to memorize, and best practice is not to use the same one, creates a real challenge, right? So there's one password, LastPass, several different password managers. LastPass was breached, and news leaked that there was a breach. At that time, what they thought was only data that was non-pertinent had been breached. As the story unfolded, more artifacts showed up that the passwords were in fact breached, or at least the hash of the password. So you think about it though, right? So if they knew they got into your account, and they got in through an engineer, worked from home, someone installed a keylogger, which means they could monitor what the engineer at LastPass was typing, and was able to download a data backup of the passwords. From there, it was uncovered that, say you had a LastPass account, you bank at Chase. Chase.com was in your portfolio, your actual account. The fact that they know you have Chase is really a breach.
So a breach is, can you explain kind of what that is? Is that kind of leaking out your passwords and
exactly.
potential hackers getting them?
Yeah, exactly. And the magnitude of that is based on the sensitivity of that data. You may not mind some things getting out. Maybe you already have it public on social media. Your passwords or the fact that you bank at Chase really should be protected. And when they first found out about the breach, they thought it was just the fact that here are users at LastPass, and here are the websites that they store passwords, but the username and passwords were hashed, meaning it's not actually what the password was, it's the encrypted output. So the password is, say, password, it runs it through an encryption algorithm, and out comes a hash. That's unusable in most cases. Hackers can then run a password cracking to try to calculate what is that actual password.
So what's the difference? Is the hash kind of the password but jumbled up a different way?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unreadable, right?
Okay.
And it's also a one-way encryption, which means you can't go from the hash back to the password. So what crackers do is they try every password and see if the output matches your hash. And when it does, they know that that's the password. So they're trying millions and billions of different passwords to see if their output of that encryption algorithm matches your hash. Okay, so
you mentioned earlier how everyone has the same password on everything, which is kind of true. I feel like I do that.
Are you self-incriminating right now? You're incriminating yourself?
Yeah.
Taking notes.
But what is your advice then for that? Is it important to have different passwords for every single thing, or is it okay to have the same password for some websites or accounts?
Well, just in terms of password security, the sort of the latest recommendation is not to have 100 different passwords, but to have multi-factor authentication set up. So regardless of how many different passwords you have, if it's 1, if it's 20, that person would also need your second device, phone, text messaging, whatever you set up as your separate email account. So that's kind of what's been put out right now as the most secure way to store passwords.
Okay.
And to not use a password manager, right?
Not put all your passwords in one spot.
Right.
You only need a password manager, which is all your passwords in one spot. If you're using every password's different. Well, Mike's saying, and the hygiene is use different variations of the same password, make it complex, And then, like you said, multi-factor authentication on everything.
So what's the goal in the case of LastPass? What was the goal? Are they selling the information to somebody or using it to drain bank accounts? Like, is there information on who's been affected by this already?
I haven't heard any of that stuff. I haven't heard
I
what
don't
the
have any
result is.
information on who has been personally affected, but I would just say it's easy to assume that all the above is being done. Your data is being sold for money. They're using your data to steal money. I mean, any way they can benefit from the data that was in there, I would say all of that's being done.
So what do you recommend then to those who have been using LastPass?
Change all your passwords.
All of them?
All of them.
And what should they use instead? Or like what is another way to store their passwords? Not use?
So we have a cheat sheet. You want to talk about that, like the characters, the character count with the grid, and how long it takes to brute force the passwords?
Yeah, so there are cheat sheets or even just the graphs out there that are easy to read for anybody. And they'll talk about based on like your password and the complexity, so like length, special characters, lowercase, uppercase, based on what you used, how long it'll take a brute force attack to take place. If you, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but if you only have like 8 characters, regardless of how complex it is between special characters and letters and numbers, they're in an instant.
Modern day computers are quick.
They got you. Especially with the processing speed and power of like computers coming out today. So really, you want your complexity to be over 12 characters, and you want at least, well, at a minimum, you want all 4 of the different types, so numbers, special characters, upper, lower. So that's your best bet to secure your password. And then, like you said, where should you store your passwords? Don't store all your passwords in one place for somebody to, of course, get a data breach and have all of them. And then again, just have one password so you're not storing it anywhere. Easy to remember.
Different variation.
But then you have
I was
multi-factor
going to say,
authentication
what about
set up.
people?
So
Because
you
I
could
write down
do-
my passwords not all in one place, but sometimes I'm like, my notes on my phone. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh no,
if
that's real bad.
Okay, that's real bad. But I
That's
mean,
just stored in plain
but I
text.
mean, this might not be an important password. You know.
Oh, but what if?
But it's like an
used-
account, something that I like. You know,
But what
just
if-
made an account.
What if your account for your Credit Karma is the same account you used for your checking account?
Yeah.
Credit Karma, you know, people are like, oh, I just use this to check my credit score. Or, oh, I
But it's
just
got
use
your
this.
social
yeah.
security number.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what you don't think is sensitive may be used in a multi-prong attack, right? So you think this data is not sensitive until they use that to answer one of your security questions on another account.
Oh.
So you should protect all the accounts equally, even if you think they're non-sensitive. What if they got your iCloud account, got all your text messaging, and then could do all your multi-factor authentication through text through your bank, and now they have your iCloud account, so they're able to get your text messages.
Wow.
So you really have to kind of analyze all the accounts.
Yeah.
So you, have,
And multi-factor is only good to a degree.
so you have to be mindful of both where you're putting it and how you're storing it and having the 2-factor or
Yes.
multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Okay.
And realize that they can still get in
yeah.
with all those set, right? So the other thing is, I'll tell you to answer your question, where not to store them, don't store them in your browser. When your browser asks you to store that password,
Okay.
do not store them in your browser.
Okay. I always thought that.
Yeah, do not do
I've
that in your
always,
browser.
I never did that. 'Cause
Possibly
I-
one of the least secure ways to store passwords.
Yeah.
Right.
Convenient, because if you have multiple devices, it syncs around, but the browser itself, those passwords can be logged in. We'll go through some tools here on the hacker implants that can go into a network and just grab all the passwords out of the browsers remotely from a computer. So you drop an implant in, and all the computers here, all the Google Chrome browser passwords can be downloaded and sent to the internet. You don't even know they're there.
So what is an implant then?
Implants. We go into these.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the LastPass, but how are they getting in? This is just one way, right? This is a Hack 5 kit. These are cheap, $60 to $80 a piece. Anyone can get them, no license. You can buy them in the U.S. So a lot of people have these. So, most people don't know these exist, right? So today we're going to kind of show you some of these, just a couple, but just realize how cheap these are and how incognito these things can be. And you don't realize the power that something that's only $60 can have on your network. So handful of tools here. I'm going to go over the first one. This is the OMG cable. I have a little Well, they give you this so you don't accidentally plug it into yourself or use it as an iPhone charging cable, right? Which is what it actually is. You can buy these in different plugs. So it's an iPhone Lightning cable. This is USB-C. You can get these in USB-A. These are $100 roughly. And the idea with this is I can give this in a computer. I plug it into a computer, into my victim, and this becomes a wireless, it's a wireless network. So if I plug this in, it gets power from USB. This long cable becomes the antenna, and now it broadcasts another whole wireless network. I can sit outside, connect to that, and issue commands. Your computer thinks this is a keyboard. So now I'm typing on your computer. Okay, so from there I can go to the internet and download a remote access Trojan called a RAT and have backdoor access into your computer.
The way you might understand that is he set up a hotspot with that cable,
Yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
see.
which is giving him remote access from the parking lot
To your
to
computer.
your computer.
So
As a keyboard.
where is this plugging in?
This one's USB-C, so just a USB port. No installation needed. So if you're not at your computer and I come into your office
And
as a
you plug-
UPS driver and plug this in, no one recognizes it. I do an interview at your company and you're in the conference room and I plug it into a computer in the conference room. Now I have access to this.
And you plug your
outside.
phone up to it?
No, so it's just a cable. You plug
wow.
this in.
You don't
and-
plug the other end in anything.
No, this is actually an antenna.
That's the receiver.
Oh.
Yeah, this is just an antenna.
Wow.
So out in the parking lot now, I'm in my laptop connected into your conference room computer,
Wow.
and I can be a keyboard, right? So I can type in, hey, go to my website and download my virus and run it.
So the back door is basically like just hacking. What does that mean?
Well, so when I plug this in, I only have access to your computer as a keyboard while it's actually plugged in. So the idea is to become a persistent connection. So what I want to do is use this as a temporary connection to go get a permanent backdoor so then I can get in from home or from wherever, from the coffee shop, right? So this is giving me this is giving me the one-time access within wherever the wireless signal can reach, your parking lot, and then I'm going to use that to install a permanent backdoor.
And so you can get these anywhere.
Well, this is Hack 5, OMG cable, but they're $100. They don't ask for driver's license. You can use a Visa gift card to buy them, so no one knows you have them. And they're hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. That's kind.
iPhone.
That's
So
freaky.
look out for
That's
that little
freaky,
orange
man.
chip.
No,
see
this
them?
comes
That's
off.
just
yeah,
for
you
you.
take that off.
Oh.
You can
Yeah,
take
this
that
comes
off.
off. This is just for me not to accidentally use it.
Because if you plug that in, it will charge
Wow.
the phone so as it should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
it
well.
still works as an iPhone
Yeah.
cable.
What is OMG?
It stands for the company MG makes them, and the O is their little acronym on that little spinoff for that cable.
Wow.
It's actually O.MG if you look it up, but
Yeah.
MG is the company who
I'm
makes
sure
them.
Jonathan will
Okay.
put a screen roll up. So that's the OMG cable.
So what else is in there?
We'll let Mike do the next show and tell.
So this right here is what they call a packet squirrel. You can
Okay.
get this from the same places you can get that. Relatively cheap. Again, probably $100, give or take. But what this one actually is an Ethernet multi-tool. And as the title suggests, it plugs in with an Ethernet cable,
Okay.
one in, one out. And it does a few things. So what this will do is now that it's receiving data through your Ethernet or like your company's network, it'll capture the packets. So it's grabbing all the data that's going
Okay.
through your network as internet travels through. It can be set up as remote access. So as the same scenario with the OMG cable, as I can connect to this from an outside source and now enter your network. And it's pretty diverse. So what this also can do is you can set this to as like a server, and it can send those packets that it's capturing. So it does a lot of things, and it's definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this thing, so it calls home, right? So packet goes and gets a nut, or a squirrel goes and gets a packet. I'm really in
Yeah.
IT, should tell you. So you put this thing in. Like the common attack vector for one of these is to pretend you're a copier repair tech, right? And you go get the
Okay.
shirt made. So It says the copier company name. You walk in. You got a whole tech kit. You're going to do what's called a PM on a copier, preventative maintenance. No one's going to stop you. Most cases, if you act a certain way and you believe you belong there, you're going to put this on the back of the copier. So the network cable from the wall to the copier is going to go from the wall to this, and then from this to the copier. This does require battery, so we usually run a small battery on it to power it up. That's actually a whole computer. So that is a Linux running computer. And from that, you put instructions in it to connect a virtual connection or an internet connection to your server in the cloud. So once it connects to that, now you have full control of a computer inside your target's network, right? So now the firewall is useless because firewalls really block traffic coming in, and this is connecting from your target network, your victim, out to your server. And you're issuing, because there's instructions in this, when you program this, you tell it, here's the IP address of my command and control server, your C2 server. And that's sitting out on the internet. And so this is going to connect to that, and then I'm going to get a notice, hey, target A is just connected. And then so
it connects like Wi-Fi.
No, it plugs in, so you get the Ethernet wire.
It's connecting through Ethernet.
So what's the other side go to?
I take the Ethernet cable that's going to your printer to give your printer network. I take it out. I plug it into this.
Okay.
And then I plug this back into your printer. So the
printer
printer will work.
it.
The printer will receive the internet and it will receive the data and it will operate as normal. I will also capture your data.
Okay.
Wow.
Which could be passwords.
Passwords.
So
it could be,
it's not just things in the printer. It's like in the cloud.
It's anywhere.
It's anywhere on the network.
So it sounds
any packet that's being passed through.
Is it sort of similar to the OMG cable in a way? Maybe
The OMG
maybe it
cable is
works
not
differently.
capturing any data.
It's not. Okay,
No.
that's just to
The
get
OMG
you so that
cable is
you
like
can
is an
download
access.
your-
That's an access point.
Okay.
That's a way for someone to gain access into a device.
Into one
Okay.
computer.
This is the same,
got it.
but this is
Okay.
going to capture all the data, all the packets moving through.
So how common does this happen? Like, do
Just
people use these a
hacker
lot?
attacks in general.
Well,
Like
are
for,
I mean, do people
are-
use these a lot?
I think they're used a lot more than people think.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they sell hundreds of thousands of them, and I don't think people are buying them to stare at them.
so is
Yeah.
this like how worried should small business owners be about something like this happening? Are attacks like this frequent for like small to medium businesses?
Well, I mean, they're going to find the easiest way in. A hacker is going to look for the easiest way in, whether it's through your firewall or it's around it. And so
Okay.
it just depends, right? If the target is local to them, they may try to breach into your building after hours. They may scan your proximity card for your door access control. They may get a job for your janitorial company and just come in that way. We go through an office to try to get in. You'd be surprised. Glass doors, for example, even our door, motion up at the top. You put a piece of paper over it, you trigger the motion, the door's unlocked. And we have a video on that.
Nobody listened to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, these are, it's relatively available on the internet. I mean, this is not secrets.
Yeah.
You can get lockpick kits, but you really don't need them. You just, in an office environment, you just put a piece of paper over the door, it triggers the motion sensor, and you're in the door. And now you're coming in, you're going to put one of these in, and you may have a keylogger in there. You may have a Trojan. You may have whatever you need. You may have a botnet, a C2 server, a command and control. It's calling home. Whatever way you can get in. And so you team this up with social engineering. And, I call and I say, I'm going to be selling you a new copier. And they say, no, we're happy with X company. And great, now you know who to represent when you walk in. So you're going to use a multitude of different attacks. And this was just one of them.
Okay.
Wow.
And to answer your previous question, I found on the internet, 30,000 websites are successfully hacked every day. So that's how severe the issue is, and that's how worried you should be. Small business, middle, large business. It's wildfire right now.
Wow.
And 95% of these attacks are all due to human error, because you can't trick computers as well as you can trick a human being.
Right.
So
what
that's called social engineering, by the way.
What should people be doing then? Like if I own a small business or any size business,
Analyze how hard. Well, number one, hire someone to do a pen test. If you're really concerned, what we do is a service where we try to break in, non-damaging, right?
and that's what a pen test is.
That's a pen test, penetration test. And then you need to write a report on how we got in and other ways. And maybe there's more than one way we got in. And then your blue team, so that's the red team, they try to break in. And then the blue team tries to come up with, here's a report, here's what you can do to lock that down. For example, in our office, you have to push the button to get out. That's because we disabled motion. So there's little things you can do that can be advantageous. So, all right, one more device.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, this is the Wi-Fi Pineapple. And just for the audience, I'm going to put these antennas on here. This, again, like Mike said, this is a multi-tool. But you get all these different antennas. They plug in. And this can run on battery as well. And the idea is when you have your iPhone and you connect to a wireless network, you put the wireless network password in once. You don't have to do it twice, right?
Yeah.
The phone stores that password. So every time you're here or you walk into the office, it detects that you're around the MaxTech Wi-Fi. It's going to go ahead and connect. So it does resend the password. It's just stored in your phone. So one of the attacks you can run with this is you knock everyone off the wireless. It's called a DOF. And then when they go to authorize back in that packet is that encryption key, that network password. Except for instead of you connecting to MaxTech, you just connected to me and I just got the password. Once I have the wireless password, then I can connect in with my device and start running network scans, see what's on the network, see what's going to be vulnerable, see how I might want to break in. So this is designed for Wi-Fi attacks.
So that's basically a fake Wi-Fi.
That's
that you
one of the
set up-
tools.
Set up for like the MaxTech office. I walk in and like my computer or my iPhone automatically connects to your fake Wi-Fi and you're able to see everything on my phone and like laptop or
No, you just can. Well, that's a man in the middle. So I could have you connect to this as what's called an evil twin. So this is not MaxTech, but I appear to be the MaxTech network. You connect to this, and I connect your traffic from this to the real MaxTech, so you don't know this happened. Then I can capture packets. So that's another tool I can run.
So would you be able to walk in, see that you're connected to Wi-Fi, and maybe not pull up settings and see that it says MaxTech? It
It would
says
still say MaxTech.
Oh, it would.
Oh yeah, it'd be identical.
But most people probably wouldn't pull up the settings at all if it's
Yeah.
automatically
Yeah, they
connecting.
wouldn't. They wouldn't pull it up.
Right.
So again, you can DOF and get the wireless. You can set up an evil twin and do a man-in-the-middle attack. Just hooking up packets, hoping for plain text passwords. Another technique is you guys ever join a wireless and there's no password, you get on and then it prompts you for something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
and
hotels.
Hotels.
Or
they're big on this.
OSU.
Yep. That's called a captive portal. What I can do with this is running a web server, so I can set up a captive portal and have you log in with your Office 365 login as a way to verify you're you, except for this time I'm capturing your password. Or Facebook, Instagram, whatever. So I've got my own captive portal in here. By the way, they come as templates. You don't have to write these up. This is relatively easy to do. A half-hour YouTube video, and you can learn how to do it too. I can set up Office 365 login. It's not 365. You log in, I let you on the wireless. You think there's no issue, except for I just have now your Office 365 credentials.
And something to think about is this is a very sophisticated tool and can do a lot of things, but with my laptop, I can start a hotspot at Starbucks called Starbucks Guest Wi-Fi, and the same thing can occur.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's pretty obvious. So like, where is that being placed? If I want to get into an office, it's not like the other tools we talked about where you can like hide it.
Yeah, this could be sitting in the parking lot.
Okay, so it has a pretty wide range then.
Well, yeah, when you put these high gain antennas on
Yeah.
them. So these are what come with it, but you can upgrade these to high gain antennas to increase the range.
Okay.
And so you can be sitting outside. A lot of people will put these with a battery pack and run them in a backpack and walk through an airport. And they just
Wow.
run the attack as they
Wow.
walk through.
And then
Or-
they can go on later and see.
Right. They can grab the loot later, which is
Yeah.
your passwords and wireless passwords, username passwords from captive portals, whatever you want.
Those are good for 400 feet.
400 feet. Okay.
That's probably
Yeah.
native with these antennas. I don't know what it would be, benefited out of with high gain antennas. And this is good for all modern wireless. So, whatever you're doing, including WPA version 3. So that's the latest version. It still can DOF those.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to have to wrap up here. So any other additional tips for business owners on how to prevent attacks like these?
Become aware, educate yourself, do some security training. It's not something to put off. Everybody
something to
does that
happen.
until something happens, right?
Right.
So it's something to take serious and look into and educate yourself on, and not just you, but help your staff.
Great.
Help training, help end user training is very important, especially with emails. Being able to spot a real email or not a real email. The other thing I would say is, a lot of people I talk to say, well, if it happens, it happens. I'll deal with it. I have cyber liability insurance and I have good backups. Although that's great. Those two things are very imperative. Now they're doing extortionware. So let's say your data is wiped out and you recover it. Your IT folks recover that data. You're back to business as usual. The problem with that is they have copied your data and they will threaten to call your clients with their personal data unless you pay them the ransom.
Wow.
That's called extortionware. And they have whole call centers that are willing to call and tell your clients their own data. So imagine you're a small credit union and you have a breach. They take copies of your data. You know they have your data because they send you screenshots, and they give you 2 days to pay them $500,000 in Bitcoin, or $1 million, or $2 million, or $10 million. And you say, well, I called my IT folks. They restored from backup. My operations are running 100%. I'm not going to pay it. And they say, well, you are, because we're going to call your customers and give them their own social security numbers.
So you
Which can't happen.
Yeah, you either pay or you lose all your clients and your
don't have a
business.
Which I will tell you, if you're in that instance, the FBI requires that you file an incident. Your customers have to know you were breached anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the less you work with these threat actors, they may come back for seconds. The less you have to rely on paying them, even if it's your cyber liability insurance, avoid that because they will come back for more. And I've read transcripts from these hackers where they will say they want a certain number, and once you've sent them the money, they double it. And then you say, well, I'm not going to do that. Well, then we're done here. Yeah. And you already sent them a large sum of money.
And they could hold on to that for who knows how long.
Like, there's no promises you're getting your data back even after you pay it.
Yeah.
Right.
So just don't negotiate.
And there's also no promises they didn't make copies. So if they send you back the data, no promises they still don't have it and go sell it to make more money themselves.
Yeah.
So that couple $1,000s for a pen test or a robust firewall is starting to look a little bit better than the millions you'd lose in extortionware.
And damaging reputation.
Yeah. Or your business, just the well-being of your business in general.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thanks, Mike, for sharing
Of course.
about the cybersecurity world, and we'll see you guys next time on the Nerd Note.